Hey y'all, I'm Courtney.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is Bodice Tipplers,
the podcast where we read all the books we used to steal off our grandmother's nightstands.
And then we drink about it. Hey y'all. This episode is sponsored by Kensington's newest Love at First by Kate Claiborne. Kate Claiborne really hit it kind of last year. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with her book that was a juggernaut last year called Love Lettering. And so she's amazing. Everyone loves her. And this is her newest, Love at First. 16 years ago, a teenaged Will Sterling saw, or rather heard, the girl of his dreams standing beneath an apartment building balcony. He shared a perfect moment with a lovely, warm-voiced stranger. It's a memory that never faded. He's put so much of his, even though he's put so much of his past behind him. Now, an unexpected inheritance has brought Will back to the same address, where he plans to offload his new property and get back to his regular life as an overworked doctor. Instead, he encounters a woman 2 balconies above who's uncannily familiar. No matter how surprised Nora Clark is by her reaction to handsome, curious Will, or the whispered pre-dawn conversations they share, she won't let his plans ruin her quirky, close-knit building. Bound by her loyalty to her adored grandmother, she sets out to foil his efforts with a little light sabotage. But beneath the surface of their feud is an undeniable connection. A balcony, a star-crossed couple, a fateful meeting. Maybe it's the kind of story that can't work out in the end, or maybe it's the perfect second chance. So you can go and get your copy of Love at First by Kate Claiborne wherever you buy books.
On this episode, we read The Leopard Tree by Valerie Parv. There are a few content warnings for this little silhouette book. It does have a real bad fiancé who, some of it is actually kind of legitimately distressing, puts the heroine in genuine peril, threatens to rape her, threatens to ruin her relationship with her parents. He is super, super, super gross.
He's like lacrosse dude bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's definitely sweater tied around your shoulders bad. So you should just be aware of that. And there's also some funny business with disability in this. It's good until it's not good.
Yeah.
So it is, somebody who is healed of his disability by what? Love.
Not being bummed out. Apparently.
Yeah. So it's we'll talk about it, of course, but so if that's something you're sensitive to, kind of be aware. It also has an outfit that you really want to like, but you can't really envision it.
Right. There's also coveralls, a lot of coveralls.
Yeah, on a dude, and you keep forgetting they're there, and there they are again.
Very Uptown Girl. That's all I can
see. I thought it was very Evel Knievel. So which one is more or less sexy? I'm really not sure.
I don't know. The whole that's a tough one.
It's also got a lot of dust.
A lot of dust, but that's Australia. That's just.
Yes.
I feel like that's just Australia. When she lands, you're just covered in dust. So
it's got highways that are obviously time machines, I guess.
Yeah. The space, time has no meaning. The space-time continuum is a thing that does not exist in this portion of Australia.
I know a lot of our listeners are either historians or librarians, so let me tell you that there's some shitty historical research in this book. It was very distressing for me, but otherwise, it does have the bad guy is just gross, but it's not. There's nothing terrible in it. Nobody actually gets assaulted.
Right. Just the threat.
So, are y'all ready for rodeos and UFOs?
Born ready, baby. Let's do it. So, how are you?
I mean, I feel like for a year now I've been
yeah. That's really all you can be, I think.
Yeah.
But we're getting close to the end. I've had my second vaccination. You've had your first, so.
Yeah, but today was spring forward, and fuck that noise. Fuck it, and it's all over. Yeah, not in a nice way.
Yes. No. I don't know. This one doesn't bother me as much as the other one does, but.
Oh, the other one's real bad.
Yeah.
In terms of, I like getting an extra hour, but I don't like the, it's dark at 2:00 in the afternoon.
That's very true.
But this one's bad too, because I had to go to work tomorrow.
Oh,
I'm going to be real surprised.
Well, I spent the last week having to be at work at 5 a.m. So like I'm excited that I can sleep till 7 something,
Oh, so it's good. So that was a training week.
Exactly. So what are you drinking?
Actually, I drank something special. I have my mezcal of the month club, and we have not actually drained them all yet, which is amazing. But this month's mezcal of the month for Women's History Month, we're all mezcaleras. So this is from Rosaria Angeles Vasquez. It is an Araucano. It's really, really good, and it'll grow hair on your chest. It is the agaves are 9 years old.
Ooh.
It is grinded by wooden clubs and fermented in a pine wood vat. And it's a clay still. So yeah, it's very, very old school Palenque, evidently, and cool. I think it's quite good. Yeah, it's got a nice smoke to it, and we'll see how long I can stay upright after having drunk some of it.
Should make
what are you drinking?
Fun second half. I'm just having a glass of Silk Road. It's a red blend. I'm trying to be Courtney responsible, so it's part of my whole fitness blah blah blah. So, but
good luck.
Yeah,
I'm refusing to do anything about the whole situation, but I'm also refusing to go up a size because I am holding the fucking line at 16. So yeah, it's great. It's great. I get lots of oxygen in my lungs at work. It's wonderful.
Yeah. But no, yeah, so are you reading anything else, watching?
Dude, I can't read shit lately. I'm back to the beginning of the pandemic again, but I did just finally become Pirate Legend on Sea of Thieves for the 1.5 of you who know or care what that is.
Well, that's very exciting. Congratulations.
It is very exciting. Dear Zach, who does listen to our podcast, he carried me on his back through it, quite frankly. I am not good at video games. So thank you, Zach. And so now I can go into the Pirate Legend hideout, which is very exciting for my son to watch me do.
What
are you reading?
Well, I just finished watching Kid 90. It's the Soleil Moonfry documentary, and I really enjoyed it. It's very raw. It's very real. So Soleil Moonfry, who, for our younger listeners, she was Punky Brewster in the early 80s, so she was a child star. And she essentially kept all of her diaries, and she just video recorded everything growing up. So from probably 13 to age 13 to around 18, 19, 20, she just kept video diaries, and after she finished with them, she just kind of locked them away for 20 years and brought them out. And it's kind of cool. It's neat in two different aspects. One is just kind of talking about the trauma of being a child star, and being friends with Jonathan Brandis, who passed away, committed suicide, and other people who committed suicide. And then also it's just this, for I think a certain age range of people, it's really just kind of like a time capsule of how you were with your friends. So, pre-internet, all that kind of stuff. It's just driving around for hours, talking, listening to the radio, that kind of stuff. So it's very got this nostalgia to it that doesn't feel forced. It felt very authentic. And I don't know, it just reminded me a lot of high school and early college years, and just how you
I didn't even know that existed. That is okay. Do you remember the episode of Punky Brewster where we all learned not to get it in an old refrigerator?
Yeah.
Because that fucked me up.
And it's, I think it's a lot of her kind of coming to terms with things that happened to her in her life, because she describes in the, she doesn't name names, but, she talks about her first sexual encounter. Basically, it was, she was raped, and at the time, not calling it that. So there's some really raw, powerful stuff in it. But it just makes you like some of the child stars that you liked much more, because some of them come back and, she interviews them, and it's just, I don't know. It was really, really, really well done. So I would highly, recommend Kid 90. It's on Hulu. The Soleil Moonfry documentary. So
I'll have to watch it. No, I didn't know that was a thing. I was just thinking when you were talking about that, how strange it would be to try to explain to a young person that if a live action TV show was popular back in the day, they would also make a cartoon of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, so imagine like a Game of Thrones or The Walking Dead or something like that. I mean, like they did tend to generally be like, you know, more kid friendly, but like, just imagine that, but there was also a cartoon that covered the same ground, but it had like a sidekick, like a, you know.
I don't know. Yeah, I really liked it. I think you would like it too.
Yes, there was some weird shit that happened in the 80s that we just completely accepted as normal.
Yeah.
Look up Small Wonder one day.
Yeah. But this is like, it was really kind of like, you know, because she's like, she becomes friends with like essentially the kids that were in Kids. And so there's a lot of them and, you know, talking about, again, like their journeys and how, you know, a couple of them ended up like, you know, committing suicide. And I think it's a lot of her dealing with like her guilt of not seeing that kind of stuff. So like when people, she also kept like everybody's voice messages, which is wild. Yeah. Like she kept,
crazy.
She kept everything. So again, it's this very much this like, here are the 1990s condensed into like an hour and 9 minutes, like being a teenager in the 1990s. So, yeah.
We're also watching Alan versus Pharaoh, or is it Pharaoh versus Alan? If you would like to really sink your teeth into some rage in your day.
Yeah, I can imagine that one is kind of like, whew.
It is, yeah, like, well, I mean, obviously it requires an intense content warning.
Yeah.
It is something, though, to watch it having a child who is just a little bit younger. So there's tapes in it of Dylan Farrow right after, I'm not going to call it an alleged assault, because fuck that. After her adopted father raped her.
Yeah.
And she's talking about it, and I mean, I know that there are children who are, like, surprisingly good liars and stuff, but, like, my son is 1 or 2 years younger than this kid, and I cannot imagine somebody who is familiar with children thinking this child is lying.
Yeah.
You know, it does not, it feels entirely like a child talks. It does not feel in any way rehearsed or, you know, and it made me want to fucking find Woody Allen and stab his eyes out with a screwdriver. Like, it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to be mad at something, I guess. You know?
No, so. I get it. I also watched the Murder Amongst the Mormons, and I highly recommend that too. It's very,
it's on my list.
It's very, it's like, it's a lot of fun. That's on Netflix. So, all right. So let's talk about our author. Our author this week is Valerie Parv, who I'm not really familiar with, but apparently is like she is greatest of all time in Australia. You know, she has written over 70 romance novels with more than 29 million sales. She's been publishing her novels with Mills and Boon since 1982. She won, or like, it's not a win. In 2015, she was made a member of the Order of Australia for significant services to the arts as a prolific author and as a role model and mentor to young emerging writers. So, you know, yeah, she's like an Australia Day ambassador. She's been awarded the Romantic Times Book Review, you know, New York Pioneer Romance Award. So she has got a ton of books.
But you know what the crazy thing is about this one? So this is a silhouette. It's silhouette 507, and it is published in
87?
Oh, come on. It's got a glossary of Australian words, which is hilarious because you should know all these. But in 1987, this book is not in Goodreads.
Yeah, it's wild.
I have read some obscure fucking books, you know, since I've been keeping track of my reading, because it's really useful to me for work. And I have never even heard of the idea of a book not being in Goodreads. Like, I searched and I searched. I mean, maybe it was something weird, but I mean, you know, it's a silhouette. It's a serious romance. It has an ISBN and everything. But as far as Goodreads knows, it does not exist. Like, Valerie Parv has a blog on Goodreads.
Yeah, it's wild. And I guess she's kind of like synonymous for like basically being the romance person of Australia. So you think it would be on there. Also wild is, I mean, she was married for 38 years. Her husband passed away in 2008. But his original job, he like became a cartoonist. But she married a man named Paul, who was a crocodile hunter in the tropical north of Australia. And I just find that, like...
I think that Australian people think that we will believe anything. Like the drop bears and the I married the Crocodile Dundee, and I mean, like, you know,
who
then later became a cartoonist. No, there is a bridge too far, and that is where it is.
You're just done with it. You're like, no,
I will not cross that bridge.
I can't accept it. So Valerie Parv, like Sarah said, she does a lot of series books. This is her one of her silhouettes, and you had a really interesting story of like how this book kind of came about.
Which is funny because I was searching and you know, using Google tricks and shit to find, like, surely it's on Goodreads, right? But nope. But it does pop up her blog on Goodreads, and so she was talking, and this is just last year in September, about you know, ideas for stories and, like, you know, how you come up with great ideas for books. And so she uses this example: what if the hero had arrived by UFO? Became the basis for the Leopard Tree. So evidently it was originally acquired by Mills and Boon until they decided that British readers weren't, like, ready for a UFO. They are delicate. They're very delicate. And they wanted her to take that out. And, like, that's like what makes this book weird and special, right?
Yeah.
So she felt strongly about it. And so she said, no, I'm not going to change it. And so it eventually did get published with the UFO element intact by Silhouette. So, and she says, sometimes you had to wait for your readers to catch up with your ideas.
Amazing. So you have
great.
Yeah, you have the actual book, so you can kind of describe the cover and read the back.
Yeah, I have to say, we've read a couple love sweeps lately, and so I am really disappointed by every cover that's not a love sweep now. This is so, it seems more old-fashioned than 87 even.
Yeah.
So, like, it's got that silhouette kind of frame thing, and it does have, it's accurate, it has outfits they wear in the book, and a leopard tree in the background, but it's that very, like, this feels to me like the cover of, like, a nurse book from the 60s.
Yes.
Like, so he's holding on to her, and she's got her, like, hand around her arm, which is not quite touching her boobs, but she's, like, looking away with this really, really regretful, wistful look on her face, and he's looking at with this, like he's had a personality-ectomy.
Yes.
Like, there's no there's nobody behind the scenes of his face, and he's doing that downcast eye thing. I don't know, this cover is, I don't know why there's not a UFO in this fucking cover.
That should be the selling point. Like, this book opens, like, page 1, there is a UFO. There is a honest-to-God UFO situation happening. And I was like...
And see, I thought, like, you know, going through it, I thought that it was all going to be explained, and that was also going to be explained. But no, that part was a UFO.
Yeah, it was just a real UFO. I was like... I was thinking, like, it was going to be very Starman. You remember the movie Starman?
Yeah.
You know, where alien comes, lady falls in love with him. Because he's a young Bridges.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know.
Or was it a Daniels?
Oh, God, no, I think it's a Daniels.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think
my husband he's not in the room because I could just feel his disregard shooting at me that I can't remember who was in Starman.
I know, I gotta look it up.
But yeah, there's no UFO on the cover of this book. And, I mean, the selling point, this book is about rodeos and UFOs.
Yeah.
Like, you want to buy it now, don't you?
I mean, yeah, but you can't because you can't find it on Goodreads. So
yeah, I know. You had to get our copy.
It's Jeff Bridges. It's Jeff Bridges and Starman.
Okay, that is hotter. Yeah,
Jeff Bridges and Karen Allen. Oh, I used to love.
Oh yeah, Karen Allen.
I used to love Starman.
It used to be on HBO all the time.
It was like, you know, all the time. Remember he brings the deer back? Like, that was like the big.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but yeah, I do remember. I haven't had HBO. Well, no, I have HBO again. It's weird.
I don't think they still show it, Sarah. The only thing keeping you from watching Starman is not having HBO. Like, I don't think it's like still on.
Well, I figured it was going to be like a triple play with batteries not included and Short Circuit. I guess 1 and 2.
Oh my gosh. I'd watch all of this right now. Okay, so the back cover. I'm sorry.
Yes, the back cover. So the front cover, there's no UFO action. Back cover, all UFOs. Because it actually starts off, Starman, ellipsis. A UFO. After years of being a member of the UFO Society, Tanith Page had finally sighted one for herself on a drive to her country property in North Queensland, Australia. But what really gave her a start was the mysterious man who disappeared out of nowhere. Decker, as he called himself, did have great knowledge of the stars, but he was far from alien. Tanith knew his kindness and gentle strength were purely human. She felt herself falling for Decker, but she needed some answers. Who was he really? And what on earth? What on earth was he looking for?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that's it, kind of. There's this. It doesn't kind of reveal that the plot is mostly this like this sad and complicated like crime plot.
Yeah,
you know,
it's very overcomplicated. I felt. Okay, so and then so the books, like we said, like page 1, there's a UFO. So Tana's family is fairly wealthy. She is the only child. Her parents are they do their own thing, but they won't let her leave. All right, so 3 years ago, her father he's a jeweler. 3 years ago, his store was robbed, and he was beaten, and now he uses a wheelchair. So Tanith, who's wanted to travel the world, every time she talks to her parents about leaving, they just start crying and get upset and all this kind of stuff.
It's weird because they seem like they were super hands-off when she was a kid in a way that damaged her. And now they're like they're not hands-off enough in a way that damaged her.
Yeah.
She can't win.
She can't.
She's very sheltered, and she's very, she's kept very small, I guess you'd say, by her family, and like her experiences are small, but she's got big dreams, yo.
Yeah.
And she makes jewelry out of like seed pods and stuff.
Oh my God. So she ends up her family owns property out. I have no idea what time is, because you feel like that this place is in the middle of nowhere, but they're always there and they're always running back and forth. So I don't know if it's 3 hours from where she lives or if it's 15 minutes. I have no clue.
I mean, having lived out in the country, people who don't live in town are really, really glad to go like 3 hours for a milkshake. Yeah, I mean, like,
but also like people are just always going back and forth. Like they are constantly driving this, like, not just her, just everybody. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, and it's like dirt roads. I mean, they're washed out, and I mean, there's no power there. So, there's no electricity, no running water. So no, it does not make any sense.
So she goes to this property that's got basically like a shack on it. She goes there every weekend, 1, to collect seed pods for her jewelry, and 2, just to get away because her family is suffocating her. They're slowly killing her with just like not wanting to be around her, but not wanting her to leave. She lives in a guest house on their property and has to pay rent, which is wild. Yeah,
you find out later she pays rent. Like, they will not let her leave. Like, she floated the idea. She's like, I've saved up and I'm gonna go get an apartment. And they're like, well, no, we'll fix up the pool house.
Yeah.
So but you get the idea that maybe the conversation
behind the big house. So
yeah, like it had been a stable,
She was on her way from the town that they live in to this I'm just going to call it a ranch because I've got nothing else, because I think she wants to turn it into a ranch. So
yeah, she does.
She's driving along in her little car, and all of a sudden, she sees a UFO. Like, her car dies. The car dies. Just this bright light, a UFO is happening. She is very excited because she's a member of the UFO Society. And she's like, now I can finally write about a UFO. Like, I was like, this is not the reaction that I would have to a UFO, but fine. So, we get the UFO description in detail, or like her encounter. And then it leaves, and she's rooting around in her car because I think she's going to go, she sees that it leaves and she thinks it's gone to land somewhere. So she's like, I'm going to go chase the UFO down. Again, not my reaction. And she gets out of her car and is like going after it. And all of a sudden there's just a dude in coveralls there. Like, hey, what's up?
Like, he kind of snatches her too.
Yeah, there's some snatching. Some mild snatching.
Snatching. Mild snatchery.
So she is nonplussed about it because she's like, I think, and she's kind of just lying to her. She sounds like, maybe it's an alien, and he's a hot alien. I saw Starman. I know what's up. And, she's just not, she does not react again in any kind of way that
I think she's very starved for novelty.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, the funny thing is, UFO clubs being what I think of as a highly social event, it's strange. Sadly, we never see her go to a meeting or have any friends from it or anything, because I was really hoping that we would, because maybe that's what she really wanted was affirmation from a group, which she never ever gets in her life. No, forget the UFO club. The UFO club is not of any importance here.
No.
But she did see a goddamn UFO.
She saw a UFO. So,
and she's almost got I guess they have a tacit agreement that they're gonna, like, because he saw it too, although he doesn't seem fussed about it either.
Nobody seems like, holy shit.
And I assumed at the time that was because, of course, it was like an experimental airplane and he was the pilot or something like that. No, it was a fucking UFO. And he was like, yeah, I saw that UFO. And she's like, yeah, I saw that UFO. And they both kind of agree to act like maybe he's a spaceman.
And the thing is, it wasn't like one of those just like, I saw a weird light in the sky. Like, it was fire in the sky right above her car UFO. Like, it was, yeah, it was a legit up close and, you know, like close encounter kind of situation. And she's just like, all right. And I'm like, no, like, I'd be like, I need to sit down. I need to yeah, no. So she meets this guy in coveralls and she's like,
Decker.
Yeah, she's like, he's super hot. And
she can't even see him for a while because it's real dark out.
But she could just tell
because there's no lights. But she's like, that sounds like a hot man.
So they get up to the house, like the house, and she sees him and she's like, he is hot. And essentially, like, she's just like, well, he's like, well, he's doing something shady. You can tell he's doing something shady, but she does not care. And it's just like, he's like, well, I didn't know anybody was gonna be here. I'm gonna leave. And she's like, no, don't go. And
she kind of lampshades it with that thing that they do in romance novels where, like, the dude is doing something really fucking shady for the plot, but so that it doesn't seem scary, she's like, I just knew he would never hurt me.
Yeah,
like, you just did the what? I mean, you're supposed to have your car keys between your fingers, girl.
Something, you know. And again, it's just like, it cracked me up because she's just like, it's fine. I'm like, you just saw a UFO. There's now a strange man in the middle of nowhere wearing coveralls, and you're just like, nah, it's okay.
She shares her camping stuff with him.
Yeah.
You know, she does sleep in her car because it feels a little safer, but she feels silly doing that. Like, look, girl.
And so, you know, they spend the weekend together. She's foraging around for her seed pods for jewelry, and I just don't understand.
And her jewelry sounds tragically ugly, by the way.
God, I hate it so much. And he's like sniffing around. She's got this leopard tree on the property, and he's just like sniffing around, hanging out, doing something. We don't know what he's doing, but he's doing something, you know?
But we've gotten enough kind of little stuff that she leaves as background information to kind of already give us an idea, because we are a lot smarter than she is.
Yeah.
So we know she is engaged to a dude named Philip, who has just always kind of been around. We know that there was a lot of business that happened around the robbery where her father got injured.
Philip was there.
Philip was there, and obviously when she says Philip's name, this dude Decker fucking knows Philip and fucking wants to murder that guy. So there's obviously you can connect some dots, and so once you learn that it's a robbery, you already know what's under the leopard tree.
Yeah.
I mean, so you don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar, all right?
But, you know, so she has a couple of, like, you know, almost peril moments where she's so focused on finding him that she almost gets bitten by a snake, but he whips his knife out and like throws it and it cuts the snake's head off. But
she's like, that's hot, but also like,
she gets scared and like steps back and then falls down a hill and sprains her ankle. So, you know, he has to pick her up and carry her to the house, and she has to sleep in the house, you know, as not to like upset her foot. And she is DTF for Decker from like second one, you know. But
she's deeply virginal, so she won't admit it. But she is DTF. So she hears, so he's sleeping and she's sleeping, but he's not really sleeping that night, and so she sneaks out after him on her, and her ankle is like busted too. But she's like, nah, it's fine.
Yeah,
I gotta find what's going on.
Yeah, she sees like a light and hears this noise, and it's like the aliens are back. And so she like, like Sarah says, she goes like cobbling out, and
which I get that. I completely that would be me. That's how I'm gonna die, hobbling out like, what's going on?
And she gets to the tree, and there's Decker, there's this strange looking ship, and then there's another guy, and she's like, don't kill me, pretty much is like what she says.
And they aim something at her, and, you know, it's all this, like, is it maybe an alien?
Is it a laser gun?
No, it's not.
Yeah. He has a laser gun kind of thing, and, you know, she's all panicked, and Decker's like,
go back to the fucking house. Oh, my God, now I have to negotiate this.
Yeah, so
Spoiler, what it was, we find out later. That was not a UFO. That was his friend who flies a helicopter at the nearby Air Force Base.
Yes, and he was not supposed to take the helicopter out, so he didn't want to get in trouble.
I would really like to know how you sneak a helicopter out of anything. So it's the 80s, so I clearly, from my study of 80s films, 80s helicopters were silent.
Yes.
As apart from the helicopters that we ever see in real life, which are so far from silent. The idea, there's so many 80s movies where the helicopter sneaks up on people.
Yeah. The Airwolf helicopters,
One of the Lethal Weapon movies had a helicopter just fucking appear. So we live not just near to Fort Jackson, but also near to Shaw Air Force Base, and McIntyre Air National Guard Base. And I can tell you that helicopters are extremely loud.
Well, the ones they want you to hear.
That's true. They might be here right now. They might be right behind me. I have the curtains closed.
Well,
Should I open it up and see if there's a helicopter?
They do have those stealth ones. I do know they have the stealth.
They
ones,
do, but this is 1987.
But she's not very. I don't know. I think I think when we talked about it before, earlier, you brought up the possibility of her being neuroatypical before they had a term for it, and I think that
she feels like that to me.
Yeah,
like somebody who has been able to get by but not really thrive.
Yeah, and I think it's because her, one, I think her family is.
But some of the things that that Philip says makes you think that she kind of has a reputation for being weird,
Yeah.
Beyond of course, we all know the lady. She's got a real big purse and she makes jewelry out of seed pods.
Yeah,
she's nice. She's super nice.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about it, and I guess we'll talk about it more. We can talk about it more with questions. Is that she is very kind of offbeat in a good way. And I think maybe that's, I don't know. We'll talk about it more.
Yeah. I don't think it's meant to represent any specific person.
No.
But certainly, she does see things in a way that other people do not see them, and some of that is kind of a joke for her, and some of that is kind of not. So it's kind of hard to tell because it's all narrated from her perspective. Right, None of it is from the man's perspective. That it's kind of hard to tell exactly when she's kind of joking with herself and when she's not.
Yeah. So go ahead. I can't even remember where I was. I was like,
so okay, all this happens, and she's like, "You gotta tell me," and he doesn't tell her. It's one of those books where nobody tells anybody anything. No. But he's like, "Okay, so you gotta go home, please. I'll let you go if you don't tell anybody about me."
Yeah.
And it's kind of a threat, but there's no threat to it. He doesn't say what's gonna happen,
Yeah.
But so she's like, "Do you want me to go grocery shopping for you?" Because she is down to fuck.
Oh yeah, he's randomly a vegetarian, which is great, but I don't know, maybe it was supposed to be part of that whole could he be an alien because it's 87 and it's weird for an Australian to be a vegetarian, maybe, I don't know. So she's like, "I'll go shopping for you," and she spends the week going back and forth between this place, which again, we don't know how time runs.
Well, no, she doesn't go back there until that weekend because on Wednesday or Thursday, she when it goes and she meets Philip.
Oh yeah,
who's her fiance. Oh, and she kissed Decker, and he was hot.
It was a good.
She's seriously thinking, well, do I not love Philip? I mean, Philip is a paper towel that I stepped on in the gutter, and Decker is really hot and wears a jumpsuit, but I just don't know.
He's always in that jumpsuit too.
And Philip, Philip is a realtor, but a big property. I guess you'd almost say a developer almost.
Yeah,
he wants to be a developer, I think.
Yes, and so you find out so she's back home,
because he catches her shopping and sees that she got vegetables.
Yeah, he's
like, "What's up?"
Yeah, she goes up.
Are you cheating me? I mean, what the? You bought a pear.
So she
what the?
She ends up going on a date with Philip. They are at the beach and they are making out, and Philip starts really getting aggressive and really trying. He's like, "Let's go get a hotel." Blah 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 blah. So again, Philip is gross.
And Philip is gross just in general. Philip is prissy. Philip is... He's suspicious when he sees that she bought a thing with no meat. And it's like... something is weird about Philip. We've learned that his hobby is prospecting, and I'm like,
Yeah.
He especially wants to prospect under that leopard tree, but she won't let him.
Yeah.
He would have totally gone there when she wasn't there. But usually he does not have the weekends off.
Yeah.
Because he's a realtor.
So something happens to where she finds out that Philip and Decker know each other because of a land deal.
It's that she goes to see Decker and she's so excited, and Philip's like, I'm gonna come out on Saturday because I got Saturday off for once, and she's like, great, but she figures she'll get to warn Decker.
Yeah.
But she gets there and Philip has followed her and catches her not in an embrace, but in a close talk.
Yeah.
And then it becomes real fucking obvious that they know each other. And then after that, like, Philip is really bitchy to her.
Yeah.
He'll show up places. And then, so she gets it out of him, though, that, yeah, there was a land deal and all this. But clearly, all of this has something to do with the robbery.
Yeah.
Now, would you like to explain what happened in the fucking robbery?
I have no idea. Okay.
Oh, my God. I was hoping that you could do that.
Okay, so, all right. So there's this robbery that happened at her dad's jewelry store 3 years ago. Her father was there. Philip was there. And there was this couple that lived on the ranch. They lived on the ranch. And like Slade or something, the Slades. And
yes.
So
which for comic book people is very funny.
Yeah. It's like, so they're hanging out. They're all in the jewelry store. So the truth of what happens is another person that we have no idea who this person is. We have no idea who the real robbers are. They're not important somehow. The real villains of this piece, we don't know. They come in, they beat up on her father, and the Slades are just standing there in like utter terror. Philip, I think, he's hiding. So he is completely hidden away. So after the bank robbers leave, Philip somehow has time to do all this. Philip follows them. They drive by the old ranch. They throw the jewelry out.
Well, the cops assume that they throw the jewelry out.
Yeah. And Philip follows them and knows that it's on the property somewhere. But again, these people don't matter because they don't show back up. Philip comes back somehow in time to be there, and he tells the cops that the Slades did it because the Slades are the parents of Decker who screwed him out of that deal like a year before. So he just basically...
It's actually not even... Okay, so like they say we were hostages.
Yeah.
And Philip goes and he sees them and he has this like really wishy-washy, I couldn't tell if that other guy had a gun or not. Meaning, the Slades, the daddy Slade was an ex-con.
Yeah.
So they did not get, I guess maybe they got arrested, but they walked away because
I think they got charged,
no evidence.
But or like something. But then like
there was a trial.
Yeah, they didn't get convicted, but because of the stigma of what happened, like everybody in town basically thought they did it, so they had to leave and they left in shame, and the dad dies and the mom's like dying. So
and the guy who actually did it died in a car wreck, like in their car. So
it makes no sense. Like none of this makes sense.
None of this really tracks like any of it. Like why was he even going back to their house? Who knows? Who even knows? But so all this happened, and so Philip, you think through this all because like you're expecting a more exciting book.
Yeah.
You think that Philip either did it or Philip was in cahoots with the dad for insurance fraud, right?
Something. And then...
Well, Philip ain't got the guts. Philip is just like a little coward who lied to get back. And so what Decker had done, he is... Are y'all ready? He is a rodeo man now.
He's in the rodeo.
And an ex-military. And so he has some money from the rodeo. And he bid against and won against Philip for this coastal property, which he turned into a wildlife refuge. And Philip was going to turn into condos.
Yeah.
So, the real estate developer is the great villain of all 80s things, right?
And so so she's trying to...
Oh, but somewhere there is possibly a bunch of jewelry that has been paid for by insurance and nobody's looking for it anymore except for certain people.
Yeah. But this doesn't come out until like the very end. Nobody is telling her what's going on. Decker is basically like, I'm a bad man. You shouldn't be with me. Philip is like making up his own stuff. Her dad won't, anytime anybody brings up the robbery, her dad just like shuts down and her mom starts crying. So, you know, she can't get any answers. This is where Sarah's talking about, like, you know, she goes to like...
She's like, oh, you know what? Newspapers exist.
Yeah, and so like, because she knew none of any of this, like, and that's...
She was away. She was somewhere else
with her grandmother
when the trial happened. Evidently, it happened all real quick, which is not how these things happen at all whatsoever. But sure.
But wouldn't you want, like, I'd be like, I need to get some information if my father was beaten, you know. But
the whole thing it doesn't make any sense. So all of this is, she decides that she's going to find out what's true, because after Philip catches her with Decker, Philip suddenly gets like real scary.
Yeah.
Like Philip is like, okay, so we need to set a fucking wedding date.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, what if I don't want to marry you? And he's like, yeah, you're going to fucking marry me. Otherwise, you set a date or I tell your father that, and it's going to kill him. It's just going to kill him.
Yeah.
That you were like, swap and spit, even though he didn't say it, like, but with the son of the people who put him in this wheelchair. And then he kind of like, he threatens to rape her and then she pretends to pass out. Like, it's gross and disturbing. Like, he is obviously not at all okay. And so after all that, she's like, okay, well, I'm going to find out what really happened. And it takes her a while to come up with the idea of maybe it was in the newspaper.
So she goes and she finds out all this information, and then...
But she doesn't go to the library or to, like, you know, and she goes to the newspaper. Yeah. And, okay, let's assume that the newspaper is the archive of record for that newspaper and not the local library. She goes in and they're like, yeah, you can't look at this unless you're this and that and the other thing. And she doesn't know what to do, so she comes with this, like, really salacious story.
Yeah, and
like,
the guy loves
gossip.
gossip.
To the fucking library. They have to show... It's oh my god, girl.
It's wild.
But so what she sees is, like, you know, Philip's account of it is essentially in the newspaper, which seems really Weasley about, like, the role of these, you know, of Decker's parents.
Yeah.
And also, we found out later that he lied about knowing, like, that the gems were somewhere on the property.
Yeah. So she decides, like, the next weekend that she's going to confront Decker, but she's going to take a bag full of groceries and buy a tube dress to do it. So she's wearing this jade dress that it's described as a tube dress, but with, like, I want to say
streamers.
Streamers.
It says streamers all the time.
But I felt like it was like a silk overlay. So the thing that Sarah and I can figure out is that it's one of those convertible dresses that can be, like, worn.
The infinity dress. I think that's what it was called, right?
Yeah.
You can make it into like a halter, or you can make it into like straps, or you can make it into
So she buys this dress, which she never really buys anything for herself, which is nice, you know. And then she just gets in the car and drives the either 15 minutes or 20 hours that it is to get to this property. And, you know, she goes walking out in the dust in her dress to the Leopard Tree where Decker's hanging out. And she's like, he's going to see me in this.
And he's just taking a cowboy nap.
Yeah. Like, he's very underwhelmed about her dress. He's like, yeah, okay. And,
what do you want?
Yeah. So they go back to the house where they almost do it, and it's pretty hot.
There's definitely some titties. Titties are out.
But it's like
4 titties.
So, like, there's also, like, there's the slow unzipping of the coveralls, which is my favorite part of the book.
You see all of it's just there, and then he's wearing, like, the BVDs. Like, he's not wearing, like, your jockeys or your Haineses. He's wearing, like, black briefs, you know, and she's like,
But they don't do it. They get interrupted.
She wants him to say, not I love you, but she wants some kind of, like, emotional exchange, and he's like, I don't do that. And then she's like, well, get the fuck off me. So
and then
everybody's really upset about it, but you know, because they actually have a conversation about it, but they're kind of coming from two different, they're talking past each other.
So then Philip shows up. Somehow Decker gets his ribs hurt.
Oh, no, the sniper. There's a sniper.
Oh, yeah, there's a sniper. There's somebody taking shots at him. So they get back.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. That happens later because she has to go and drive her car into a ditch and get... No, okay, I'm sorry. I forgot. She drove her car into a ditch because she was thinking about that sweet, sweet dick. on her way back from last time. And that's when Philip picked her up and did the rape threats.
Yeah.
No, this time, like, there's somebody shooting at him, and Decker is like, you gotta go. And she's like, fuck that. I'm not taking, like, you come too. And he's like, no, it's too dangerous. But then he, like, breaks a rib, like, jumping away from the sniper. And she drags him home with her.
Yeah. So,
and puts him in her bed. And it's actually kind of this,
and they're but they're in her guest house where her dad is, and her dad knows who Decker is, and you know he's a mortal enemy kind of thing. And I was like, oh. So of course the dad finds them. He slaps her, which I was like, whoa.
No, not then. He had slapped her before, like before the show started. The book started. So, he's real mad, and then like they're both. None of them do great, and she runs. She just runs.
And so
in her dumb dress.
Anyway, long story short, she ends up going back to the house. Well, again, could be 5 minutes away, could be 2 days drive. We don't know. Philip is at this house again, and he just kind of takes her hostage. It is real gross, lots of threats, that kind of thing. And, he's like, we're going to find these jewels. They're going to make me all this money, blah, blah, blah. And that's when you find out the whole, like, everything that happened. And, he takes her out by the leopard tree, and he's digging, and he finds a box, and the box is empty. So she's like, oh, no, Decker, doesn't really want me. And eventually, of course, luckily, Decker shows back up.
Her dad shows up like dun, 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 dun,
and he's like,
no wheelchair. He's got a new lease on life. All that.
Yeah, he stood up, and she's like, "You're walking," and he's like, "Yeah, I was just really bummed out, but now I'm not." And that super problematic. So her dad's there, the police are there, and then Decker's there. And, you think it does have one of those, like, third act peril situations where Decker's like, I love you. She's like, I love you, too. And Philip's like, no, points a gun at Decker. And she basically pushes him out of the way and gets shot in the arm, wakes up in the hospital, and,
And socialized medicine must be awesome because she got like just a surface graze on her arm, and the doctor's like, "We should keep you for 2 or 3 days."
Yeah,
you can have a whole ass baby in America, and you are turfed out of that place in 3 days.
It's wild. So she ends up, she's the hero of the day. Decker loves her. They're gonna get married. Her dad, is basically like, "Sorry, I was an asshole because I was bummed out for getting, robbed." And they live happily ever after, I guess. But they don't do it.
Yeah, they don't do it.
Oh, and it was a real UFO. Not... It was a real UFO.
Yeah. And they don't make a big deal out of that. Yeah. There's like one line about it.
No! I was like, damn it, I thought this was going to be more
like
UFOs.
When we saw the UFO. Yeah, like when we saw the UFO. What? Yeah. Okay, question time.
Okay, so big dick energy or big dick energy?
Deckard had a lot of that big dick energy, that big coverall.
It was the coverall
jumpsuit energy.
He's a rodeo cowboy in coveralls. No, I mean he was fine. Like again, he had the smolder about him. He's very like, I'm not telling you things for your own good. Again, he's better than most that we, a lot of the guys we had. He's not in my top, but he was fine.
Yeah, I mean, like, compared to a guy like the Ghost of a Chance guy, who I think was supposed to be, like, a bit of a similar guy.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's a lot. Although it's funny, like, the man is a rodeo and military guy, and he was like, and they're arguing, and he says that, she says that, like, he's softer and more gentle than he likes to pretend. He's like, no, I'm a tough old so-and-so. What tough dude calls himself a so-and-so? I would like to know. Even in Australia, our Australian listeners, can you please tell us, is so-and-so like a real man's man word?
It was hilarious. Yeah. So, I mean, again, he was hot. He seemed very like, he was one of those that's plays the cards close to his chest, kind of, like so.
They're kind of like generically hot. I couldn't picture him.
I couldn't either. He's just dark hair with coveralls on.
The jumpsuit though kept coming.
The jumpsuit. Like again, when she unzips it, I was like, "This is sort of hot," but then, like nothing.
His man panties.
Nothing comes from it, but I was like, "Man," but yeah. Okay, so, question 2.
Would you talk shit with or about the heroine?
I Tanith, like, again, like, what we were trying to badly explain is, like, she's very different than a lot of the people that we have, a lot of the heroines that we have. And I do think that she was probably, like we said, like, neuroatypical before there was really a term for it. She likes what she likes, but again, she's so attention starved. And I think it was interesting to kind of see that aspect of it, that it's not even that she had like a bad family. We get a lot of bad family women, but it was just that they were just like apathetic to stuff, So,
and I mean, they're bad now. Like
Yeah.
there's some bad, I like well deserved, but like bad energy in that house
Yeah.
now. Like, she's moony, but she's moony in this like kind of really endearing way.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, again, she's clever, that she makes this jewelry that, again, sounds ugly, but people love it.
The weird thing about the UFO thing, though, is that, like, yeah, I was like, oh, she will see the UFO club, and there'll be, all these people in it and stuff. She never has any friends. Or I guess this is number 3, too. Let's also talk about Back Down to Bitch. There are no friends. Like, she does not talk to anybody. Like, she barely talks to her mother.
Yeah, the mom's
There's nobody
maybe in
else.
It, like 2 pages or something. The mom's
Yeah.
not, like...
She probably talks as much to the sales girl who sells her that dress.
Yeah, so, like, there's no other real women in it. It's just kind of her on her own, doing her own thing, and just being, like, just really lonely.
Well, which I think adds to the believability, because when Philip is like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna tell your dad you were making out with this guy.
Yeah.
Like her shock and horror is kind of believable, whereas like a more worldly girl, you're like, yeah, and you can shove that up your ass.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, no.
And like he calls her, he doesn't even say whore. He just says, well, girls like that are,
Yeah.
After he tries to have sex with her and she says no.
Yeah.
And she's legit upset, but it's because she's very sheltered.
Yeah. It was, so it's like it's a very isolated book in a way. Like, it's just,
Mm-hmm. There's no larger community in this.
No. But yeah, she's fine, but there's no, I would have liked to see like a friend or like some, like Agnes of the UFO club or something, some weird little lady that like comes in.
I was looking forward to that because I felt, that's always super fun.
Yeah. All right, so when it comes to consent, is this book more Robin Thicke or Marvin Gaye? So obviously the Philip stuff is very gross,
Yes. But with Decker, I mean, like, he stops him. She's like, tell me you love me. Or like, she doesn't even say that. I don't remember what she says, but he's like, no, like, so no, that's what you want. We're not.
Yeah, she's basically like, so we'll be together now. And he's like, what? I didn't say all that.
No. If that's what you're thinking is happening, then this is not going any further.
Yeah. And then I think this is it's a good place to like talk a little bit about the disability, like the problematic disability stuff in this book. So my mom had muscular dystrophy and was in a wheelchair for like the last 20 years of her life. And again, like this idea of, I mean, and she didn't start off in one, it's like, she had a walker, she'd have to be in a wheelchair, she could walk short amounts of time, like, short periods of like just around the house. And then eventually, like, she was totally in a wheelchair, but like, the dad was just like so bummed out that he just didn't care to get up, like, I was like, this is,
well, I kind of felt like it was in the beginning. I was like, this is actually fairly good representation, if only because it made the point, because he could walk sometimes for like short distances. It made the point that just because somebody uses a wheelchair doesn't mean that they can never walk. And if you see somebody who uses a wheelchair walking, you should not like assume that they are like scamming you.
Yeah, but also
you should,
like, it was just the whole idea of like, I don't know. I mean, I get like, obviously like my mom had a lot of like depression and things that went along with it. And, it's kind of like for her, it's a very different situation. It's being trapped inside your own body, is the best way that I know how to describe it, because like, her muscular dystrophy is the kind that basically just deteriorated. And, you go from being someone who can do all this stuff to not being able to do it. It's does a lot to you. And so like if they had explored maybe that aspect with him, but it was just sort of like, he's like, well, I had a talk with Decker and I got the will to like go on and I just popped up out of this chair. Like, I would thought it would have been cooler if he would come in the chair, like, like and then
I can still do things. I got a van, you know.
Exactly.
Well, and because I thought it was very realistic in that, like, okay, so this thing happened to him and it was terrible, and hey, it was he got hit in the head, so it wasn't even you know, so realistically, you know, it doesn't have to be something that happens to your lower spine or whatever to mean you need to use a wheelchair. But then we all know people who like just were not able emotionally or refused to emotionally do the physiotherapy. And so therefore they did not, you know, they could have had more functionality restored to them, and they did not. And we all know people like, God, my grandfather, when he had his stroke and he had to use a wheelchair for the rest of his life, especially for the first couple of years after that, he was just like extremely depressed. And frankly, frequently an asshole about it.
I mean, your world, you know? Your whole worldview like changes. You know, your whole like, just, you know, seeing it up hand, like, you know, your whole, the fundamental nature of who you are and how like you have to operate is completely changed. But again, it was just like, I would have liked it to be like, you know, like this has inspired me to, you know, maybe do like try harder or something. But it's just like he got up and he was fine and everything was good.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like, I thought it was really realistic for also the effect that it had on their family. That like previously they had been dysfunctional in a completely different way. But now like the mom is like tiptoeing around the dad, and everybody's afraid of the dad. And this is all like, you know, I think quite realistic. Like
but
like he slapped her that one time because she was like, you should go to you know, the therapy that was prescribed to you. And he slapped her in the face, and it was just like the worst thing that ever happened in her life. Well, you know, I remember, Grandpa, we were talking about, you know, I think, like moving him out of rehab and to like a permanent assisted living, like, solution. And of course he knew, you know, as a person who is a practical person, he has to like think about for the rest of his life now all these things. But like he turned his wheelchair away and faced the wall, and like because he couldn't walk out of the room, you know. And that was like I was like 21, I was in college, like I was probably like more like 19. I was just shocked because like my grandpa he didn't want to look at me. He was so angry. And all of that was really realistic. But then at the end, he comes in like, you know, on an ivory steed instead of like saying, look, I realize that now looking back that I was emotionally really unfair to all of you.
Yeah, there's none of that. He's fine. He's fine now. I was like, come on. But
like, you know, maybe like either, you know, it's not even, it has to be like, I will make more of an effort at, you know, occupational therapy. But rather like, I realize that I have kind of shut down this entire family, and I'm going to go to therapy.
Yeah, no, there's none of that.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to go see a counselor, but no, none of that.
Okay.
It's weird. Okay. I don't know where we are, but how badly are you judging your mom off for reading this book?
I feel like this is one that's very like typical of what would have been like in a mama's house. And again, there's no sex. Like we just have some dirty bits. So
she has a dream. She has a dream about it, like a star.
Oh yeah,
man.
she does. She does have.
That's pretty hot.
Yeah. Would Scarlett Johansson be in the movie? Probably. I don't know. This is like one of those that's just like there's nobody. Yeah, like we said, there's no other women in this book. There's no. It's very just Tanith and these two dudes, and sometimes her dad, and occasionally her mom. So
and of course everybody's super white. Yeah. There is the disability angle, but they kind of blew that at the end. So
yeah.
You're not leaving this house looking like that. I feel like we discussed the outfits, but let me elaborate again on this green dress. They describe it so much. She's always like doing things about it. Like they even talk about how it has that really long zipper.
She's in it for like
that you need
she's
help
in
with
it for 3 days. You know, essentially, like she has to be.
But you cannot picture this dress.
No, you can't. Like when it says streamers, I was like, what does it mean by streamers? And I guess
I'm thinking like those you know, the paper ones that you put up for somebody's birthday.
I'm thinking like again, it's like got some draping situation. But basically it's that and coveralls, and then she's like in jeans and a t-shirt the rest of the time. Like,
but the coveralls, I think, are the star of the show.
The coveralls are the star of the show. Like, I love the coveralls so much that he was just always in coveralls.
I kept forgetting, and then it would say something about him again.
Bring up those coveralls. So those coveralls were really the star. They tried to make that dress the star, but I was like, no, it's these coveralls.
Well, and the funny thing is, okay, so she refuses to buy the stilettos that the sales lady tries to sell her with the dress. Okay, smart, because it's gonna be dusted. There's gonna be them drop bears. But then she says, like, as she's like humping it across the outback, she's like, well, I'm so glad I didn't buy those shoes, that I'm wearing the court shoes I had on. And okay, you had to be a certain age to know what she means by court shoes, but what she means is your mom's pumps.
Yeah.
Okay. And like I was like, whoa. Was she wearing those with the jeans that she wears for the entire rest of the book? Like, was she always wearing jeans and a giant baggy oversized t-shirt and the court shoes that your mother made you wear to church?
It was amazing. It was such
I'm not sure. And it keeps making the point that she had her jeans and t-shirt, because what she did is she's like, I would like to wear this out. And so she puts her jeans and t-shirt in the bag that the dress would have come in. She's got them with her for the entire rest of the book, but she never thinks to change into them when she has a chance. So all of this is happening in this uncomfortable, tight
tube dress with some sheets on it.
Streamers.
Okay, would your 12-year-old self have dog-eared any pages?
Yeah, but my 12-year-old self was not a connoisseur of sex.
No, there's there's like the hot foreplay action, but it's the silhouette books are fairly like, wait till marriage kind of thing.
It's literally a silhouette. Yeah. Like, it's a silhouette of people having sex.
Yeah.
Now, I gotta say, the above the waist action is pretty good in this.
Yes, it is. And again, the unzipping of the coveralls was my favorite part. So I was like, give me more of this coverall action.
I keep almost buying coveralls because I keep seeing all these awesome pages of all these like tomboyish looking women like really rocking their coveralls, and they'll be all kind of sizes. They're all cool. You know what? I would look like Billy Joel if I bought a pair of coveralls. I have had them in the cart several times.
Just do it.
Uptown girl.
Okay, so what pairs nicely with a dumpster fire? Like,
they do drink scotch in this because she has it for when Philip comes over.
Yes.
Like, come on, girl, you're not drinking a fucking wine cooler or like whatever for yourself. She has very few things for herself. Like, I'm impressed that she ever got together the gumption to take her ugly jewelry to stores and try to sell it.
I was very impressed by that too. Not her. Yeah. Not her at all.
But it seems like she kind of had a going concern with it too. I mean, good for her.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine her doing that.
No, I mean, it was, I was very proud of her for that. And we got that ugly...
She got scotch just for Philip.
We got that ugly, weird, bean pod jewelry. So
it's sea pods and leather, and then like she starts making them with a Southern Cross like constellation theme. Yeah.
So, all right, that was... God, this book. This was The Leopard Tree. The Leopard Tree by...
Well, by Valerie Parv.
Yeah.
Courtney's been teasing me with this UFO book she has for a while now.
I know. We got to find one with real UFOs. So,
But it had a real UFO.
I know, but I want real Starman. Like, don't promise me a Starman.
I know, but I the whole thing, I was sure they were going to explain away the UFO.
Yeah, no?
So it makes me actually super, super happy that they didn't. There was a real
that
UFO.
That was fun. So, Leopard Tree by what's her name again?
Valerie Parv.
So, as usual, we never have a sign-off. We're terrible at this, but you can find us at btipplers on Twitter, bodicetipplers.com. If you want to leave us a review, that helps us. It's a nice free way to kind of get our name out there wherever you listen to your podcast. And then follow us on Facebook, Bodice Tipplers, and Instagram on Bodice Tipplers.
And you can also go to our website and see all of our episodes, plus show notes at bodicetipplers.com.
Yes, so, rodeos and UFOs.
And hoes in 2 different area codes, assuming that the farmhouse and her house were in different area codes.
Save an alien, ride a cowboy.
Ah, nice Brooks and Dunn reference there, Courtney.
Okay. Oh, I was trying to make it to where we could end with that.
I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. Half of you were like, what? And half of you were like, Brooks and Dunn.
See, I was trying to give us a line, but now we're,
No, I mean, I can always chop it, but I just think it's funnier that, like, now we talked about Brooks and Dunn in our podcast.
Brooks and Dunn.
Now it's 10% less sexy.
Yeah. How about this? Now we're Brooks and Dunn. Bodice Tipplers is part of the Frolic Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcast.